All right, you want to count us in?
3, 2, 1.
Boom. What up, all you little spiders of the interwebs? Welcome to yet another episode of Necro Electric. As always, I've got my beautiful, sometimes angry wife,
very angry right now,
Kylie Skellington.
Aren't we all angry?
And then the fiery habanero, Susana Lopez.
That one came like it.
And the dude that just talks a lot. All right. What is our theme today?
The theme is escalated fast.
Escalated fast stories.
Fast.
I got some of those.
Yeah.
Let's start it off with back before we moved here. We lived in San Jose in a shady neighborhood, to say the least. And I am being a full-blooded American and armed to the teeth at all times. And basically, like, our old house, the way it was set up was to get into our backyard, you had to go down this fucking alley, and there's only one way into our backyard. So I took my trash cans and I put them right by the fucking gate, and my head like rests right by the window next to those things. So
Didn't we just tell this story?
no, I told you off air.
Are you
What?
sure?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was off air.
Oh, okay.
but that's cool.
It was actually not very off air. Yeah, we can
My
roll again.
I know we're fucking keeping it, dude.
We're tired.
But
Okay.
anyways, before I was interrupted, it's like 3 in the fucking morning, right? And we're sleeping, dead asleep, and then all of a sudden we hear the trash cans moving. And like, no, this was like straight up human dragging them, like fucking no doubt, zero fucks, zero doubts, right? I'm like, God damn it, right? So I didn't know what else to do except for go and confront whoever's attempting to get into my backyard. So I grabbed my 9mm and I went out front, and I go around the front of my house, around my garage to the trash cans, and I can't see because it's not lit up real well. And but there's somebody right there. Yeah. So I pull my gun out and I'm like yelling at him, like, yo, what the fuck are you doing on my property?
Yeah.
You know? And then it turned out it was my neighbor, my new neighbor on the right. And it was this chubby Mexican guy. Aww. And then he freaked out, right? And he put his hands up. No, you know? And he's like, oh, I was fixing your trash cans, man. Like, no problem. So I was like,
okay.
At 3 in the fucking morning, dude.
Why are you fixing our? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Fixing our trash cans at 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Sounds creepy.
And I was like, don't ever touch my fucking trash cans.
Yeah.
Don't fucking just stay off of our fucking property, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, I could have shot you, dude. It's 3 in the fucking morning.
Yeah.
And he's like, no problem. And he goes running into his house, right? And then I come in, I tell her what was happening or whatever. And then they pretty much never talked to us again the entire time we lived there. Yeah. And even at one point, they had this old shed that was like right against the fence, and their dog actually had a little chihuahua, and he got up onto the top of the shed and he fell into our yard. Aww. So Kylie went over and was like, hey, your dog. She was like knocking on the door.
I left him a note because no one would answer the door. I was like, hey, your dog's in our backyard. Like, here's my phone number.
Yeah.
Call me.
We all have chihuahuas, right?
Yeah,
we have 2.
Mix.
Yeah.
Chihuahua mix.
Yeah.
A min pin and a
He's
poodle.
like, hey, I want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, but instead of coming over and getting their dog back, they dug a fucking hole under the fence
For the dog to get
big
back.
enough for the dog to get under.
Yeah.
And then they
Didn't even call or anything.
didn't even fill it in. They just put a brick
Oh yeah.
on their
And you
side.
put the dirt back.
He can't get through.
So I had to fucking put it back.
Damn. Whoa.
But yeah, that one escalated quickly.
I wonder if he really was just like, maybe he had like an anxiety problem, was walking in the back alley and was like, I'm gonna fix everybody's trash
there's
can.
no way. Their front yard looked like a jungle of old potted plants.
Yeah, they had like 10,000
So no
fucking
OCD
plants
there.
everywhere.
No OCD whatsoever.
Yeah, no.
What the fuck he was doing? Planting a bomb.
My only like real guess is that he was probably throwing his garbage in ours.
In your garbage, yeah.
You know, but that's not what he said. But I'm pretty sure that's what he was doing.
He's garbage.
Yeah. What about you guys? Have any like crazy shit that got out of hand real quick?
Me and my sister always get out of hand real quick. Yeah. It goes 0 to 100.
We're gonna open that door right now.
No, that's all I'm gonna say.
Just wanted to mention.
Shout out to Courtney.
I've gone 0 to 100 like when we first got married. Or when
With Diego.
Yeah, me and my husband Diego. We first got married.
Shout out to Diego.
Yes. When I first started living together, because English is a second language, I understood some things a certain way, and he meant it a whole nother way. And then I'm like, no, what you really mean, you know? And then English is also my second language, but I was born here and I've learned it when I was like 8 or 9, so I'm a lot more seasoned. And we would get into arguments because, no, you didn't, man, you said it like this, and you said it like that, blah, blah, blah. You know, oh my God. And so what escalated quickly, though, was when I was in Brazil, speaking of language, I was not very fluent in Portuguese yet at all, but I was trying. So I wanted to order at a restaurant by myself. He was working somewhere, so we hadn't met up yet that time. And I ordered a bread sandwich with egg. And I said, pão com ovo. And pão means dick. And pão means bread.
Oh, shit.
Dick sandwich.
Oh,
and egg.
shit, dude.
And then I told the guy, I want pão com ovo. And he's like, what? What is that? You know, in Portuguese, like, what? Come again?
He's like, what?
Yeah, and he starts turning red. And I'm like, pão com ovo, pão com ovo. And he's
Start
like,
yelling it.
He's like, pão com ovo. And then these two dudes over here, like, laughing their ass off. And I'm like, what did I say? You know, like, oh my God, please.
And Diego didn't stop you?
Well, he wasn't there because he was working.
You were just doing your thing.
Like the first time I ever went to Brazil. Like, the very first time I went to Rio.
Gotcha.
And there it was, dick and egg, dick and egg, dick and egg. It was horrible. That escalated very quickly.
Oh my God. So
went straight back to my hostel. Never came out again.
Yeah.
That day.
Dick and egg
Dick
sandwich.
and egg, please. Dick and egg.
Does not sound good.
Damn, dude. I remember I had a concert in San Jose, and my band was playing, and we were all getting a little tipsy, a little too tipsy, and because the show like wasn't promoted well, there was like maybe 15 people there.
Oh.
So everybody was like kind of like in a bad mood about it, you know, and so everybody was like throwing them back. And I remember there was like this drunk hippie lady, and she was just like doing like some Coachella shit, like in the middle of like, and we're like a death metal band, you know, and we're trying to be all hard, and there's like some fucking hippie lady like just doing this shit. And I remember my guitar player Brian just threw back like a bunch of Jameson and was like playing, and then he went and he jumped, he had a wireless setup, so he like went out into the crowd and was like trying to get people to like mosh, and he jumped up on this little tiny table, right?
Oh, no.
And we're all playing, and then just out of nowhere, he never flinches, he never like does anything, he just like belly flops right onto the floor of like where the crowd is, right? And just out, right? And then we were just like playing, and we all stopped, and we're like, oh fuck, what just happened, dude? And we all just watched it. It just happened like in slow motion.
Oh no.
He just straight didn't brace himself. Like the guitar was like, you know, like everything. His arms are all twisted and legs are all twisted.
Find a video of that one.
I have the video. I gotta dig it up. And then I'm like, and I'm pretty sure I'm like, oh fuck, you know? And like the crowd, everybody, even the hippie lady was like, what? And then all of a sudden he just popped back up, and he was like, and we're like, all right, I guess we're going. And then we just kept going.
That's funny.
That one was pretty awesome.
But he laid there for a minute, like.
It was probably like 30 seconds.
That's long.
Long enough for the guitar to kind of squeal.
Pretty long.
That's long for like.
Long enough for all of us to question if it was going to continue or not.
Is he okay? That's funny.
Yeah, it was fucked up. Shout out to Brian Allerid. Yeah, we've had like when it comes to band stuff, shit's escalated like a million times.
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys are like on stage, your adrenaline is pumping.
Yeah.
Like, I can imagine it goes off.
Yeah, I got so many stories. I remember one time we were playing in what was it? Placerville Metal Fest, and the security guard was a bass player in another band, but he had a wooden leg or a prosthetic leg.
A wooden leg, like a peg leg, like the pilot or something.
Well,
I literally
that's how I kind of
imagine
picture him.
this.
He's a big
Like,
bald dude
like
with a big beard.
Like trying not to laugh like my
And
10-year-old.
that show was sold out, and like it was just crazy, like mosh pits and stuff. And then there was a bunch of people because like there's not like shit going on in Placerville, California. So like every fucking teenager and metalhead went to that show that night.
Yeah.
And then there was a bunch that couldn't get in because it was like a capacity to the hall that we were playing. And then I remember this dude was like all belligerent, and he was like trying to come in, and I'm watching from the stage, and we're just playing. And then I see the door guy and this dude start like going at it, right? And then the guy like takes the big bald dude and like puts him into the door, and there was a couple little pieces of glass that you look through in the door, and the guy's head like broke one of the little squares. And I'm like, oh fuck, it's about to pop off. And then that big dude just fucking grabbed the guy and like slammed him against the wall.
Shit.
And then his prosthetic leg started to come off. And then he reached down, grabbed it, and fucking clocked the guy with the fucking leg.
Oh
and
my
I'm like,
God. That's like something
fuck
I see in a movie.
Yeah, I was like, fuck yeah. Like, fuck, look at that guy. Fuck that.
Oh my God.
with the foot.
Yeah, I'm like, get it on video.
That's funny.
Damn.
Yeah, that one was awesome.
That is kind of crazy.
But we've had like stupid shit, like even band practice. Back in the day, we used to play in one of my bass player's garage, and then his family was moving or some shit, and we lost our jam space. So then we went over to like some chick that just liked the band. She was like, "Yeah, you guys can play in my living room, right?" And we're like, "All right, fuck it, you know, like we don't care, we're broke or whatever." So we loaded up all our gear and we go to practice at this chick's house. And we're playing, and we've never played inside a living room before.
Yeah.
And we have full like show gear. We have like full stacks. We have PA, like big PAs.
How high is her ceiling?
It was just like a normal. I mean, it wasn't like short, but it was like an eight or
Enough
10
for you to
foot or
get
whatever
your
the fuck it is.
Speakers.
It wasn't like putting my head through the wall or anything. But we brought enough gear to play like a large hall or club, you know what I mean? And we're just in this little tiny 2-bedroom house. And I remember we rehearsed our songs and stuff, and then we were packing up our gear and leaving, and then that chick called us, and she was like all crying and like crazy, right? And we're like, what's the problem? You know, like we put everything back.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, my dad got home. It turns out when we were playing so loud that it put hairline cracks through all the windows in the front of the house.
What?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Cracked them all.
It's cool and it's not.
And Dad got back and was like, what the fuck? You fucking cracked all my fucking windows.
What happened here?
And like we were just a broke like metal band, so like we couldn't even like pay the guy or anything.
Damn it.
We're just like,
she was
fuck.
crying. What was she hoping you could help or something? Like,
No, I mean she didn't ask us for money or nothing, but she was just upset because her dad was fucking, you know.
yeah.
Living,
You're like, I'm sorry,
probably.
girl. Write it in your diary.
Yeah. So
Can't do nothing for you.
I can't even remember her name, but if you by chance watch this, sorry. Sorry about that.
Damn, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty metal.
That was very heavy metal.
Yeah. Did you guys ever break anything like when you were little and got out of hand or anything?
I'm sure I did. I wanted to stab my brother one time.
Shout out to Marco.
I love him so much.
She's even wearing the Kaching shirt and shit.
Kaching,
Yeah.
courtesy of my brother. And I think that's where Kaching came from as well. We were always playing with the thing was that when we were kids, I think we were like maybe 8, 9, around there. I don't know. And he used to always tease me about being chubby. But I was never actually chubby. He just made me think I was chubby.
Oh.
And then I started thinking I am chubby and whatever. But I wasn't skinny either. Like I was like in the middle. I don't know. Anyway, he would tease me so bad. Like I wouldn't eat, and I would like steal some food at night and run to my room and eat it. Like I'm talking about. He got in my psyche.
Sad.
So one day I'm like about to make a sandwich, and he's like, I don't know what he said verbatim, but all I remember was I had this knife. My sister swears like this big old cook's knife, and I was like, it was a butter knife, and she was like, no, it was a huge knife, because she stopped me. Like, I went to go stab him.
She grabbed you?
Yeah, and she stopped me. She's like, no, don't do it. And I was like, I hate you. Like, I'm like going for him.
Out
and he's
for
like,
blood.
Oh, you know, he's like, oh shit, she means it. And I mean, he was going at me while I'm making him my sandwich, you know. And at this point, I was like, you know what?
Bye.
Yeah, I'm gonna get
Bye,
the second attempt to kill him in my life. First attempt, you guys have to watch that episode.
Yeah, she choked him out, hung him.
But that escalated very quickly because my sister said that I looked like I had the devil in my eyes and all this stuff, whatever. But, you know, I'm sorry, brother.
Damn. You never tried to kill your sister?
I'm not going to talk about my sister.
Okay.
New subject.
Alright. You ever tried to kill me? I can't.
Kill me.
Kill you?
Yeah.
Why would I try to kill you?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think of.
You benefit me much more alive than you do dead.
Adam,
He's like, I feel like you tried to kill me once. I just can't recall.
Adam, when the duffel bag porn guy, when he split up with Sandy, I got a Sandy story too. When he broke up with Sandy, she contemplated poisoning his food.
Oh, what?
Oh, deep.
How did
Yeah.
you know that? She tell you?
Well, she told him later after shit had kind of like leveled out. She's like, you know what? Because they were like, you know, it was like teenage. They were in love since teenage into adulthood.
Okay.
So it was
Got
like
those deep emotions
yeah,
going.
this fucking
Went through shit with you.
like fucking psycho shit.
Yeah.
But she was like, yeah, I contemplated poisoning your food, and I was like, you know, on the verge of doing it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but when we all lived together when we were kids, well, for one, another escalated moment was one of the first times I ever met Sandy. I was in the backseat of Adam's Bronco when we were driving to Reno because we were all moving there, and then Adam was like, "Hey, you want to see Sandy's tits?" And I was like, "What?"
What?
And then
Wait,
before,
was she the girlfriend already?
yeah, because they had been
That's awkward.
they had been dating since they were like 15.
Oh, right, you just said.
And this was like, we were probably like 18 or 17 at this time. And we're driving because we had just got our very first apartment. And then he was like, you want to see her tits? And I was like, what? And then before I know it, a fake tit comes flying into the back seat and lands on me. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then he's like, oh yeah, she has like small ass tits, so she puts these fake ones on, like in her bra or whatever.
Like the ones that cushion, like a push-up bra?
It was like a clear tit.
like a whole tit.
The ones that they're not sewn to the bra, but it goes in there.
Ah, okay.
It's like a broke ass boob job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Why are they're not sticky?
It was gross. It was weird. And then I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting, right? Aww. So then we finally get to Reno. We get to our apartment. And the apartment was kind of weird. It had a deadbolt, but there was you couldn't access the deadbolt with a key from the outside.
Oh, okay.
So you can open the small lock, right?
Yeah.
But there's nothing you can do about the top one. And then we got all our shit in there, and we put our lease on the table. And then we're like, let's go get some food. This is probably like 11, 12. But, you know, in Reno, everything's open. So we're like, let's go get some fucking food. And I go over to the door, and I make sure that deadbolt isn't locked, right? I'm like, okay, cool. And we all got our keys. And then we go out the back. And then the slider, if you shut it, had an automatic lock.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah. So we're starting to go out, and then Sandy's like, hey, I forgot my purse or some shit, right? So she runs in real quick, then runs out and shuts the thing like real hard, and it auto locks. So I'm like, whatever, not even thinking about it. We go, we get dinner, whatever, we come back. We go to open the front door, and it's like, doop, 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 right? And we're like, what the fuck? And Adam's like, dude, did you lock the deadbolt? And I said, nah, dude, I specifically went back in, made sure it wasn't locked. And I'm like, who the fuck locked our deadbolt? Sandy. And then Sandy's like, oh, well, I locked it, you know? And we're like, what the fuck? You know, we're like, what the fuck? How are we going to get in? And then we're like, all right, well, you know, like, I grew up living in, like, shitty, cheap apartments and stuff. So I used to be able to just go to my sliding glass door and just pop that shit off the track.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
so I was like, no big deal. But this apartment was actually kind of nice. And in the auto deadbolt thing was like this fucking big. It was like a big old like half-inch fucking bolt that went into the door.
Wow.
So
Safety first.
So I was like trying to pop it off the thing, and I'm like, dude, we can't get back in here.
Nah.
You know? And it's midnight, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know what? I got a buddy. Let's go over to his house. And I went and got a big ass crowbar. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking, I'll pop
Why didn't
this
you just
fucking.
smash the window in?
We hadn't got that far yet. And then, so I went and I jammed it, and I'm trying to like do this. I'm making hella noise.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, dude, I can't get in this thing. I'm like, maybe there was a tiny window. I was like, maybe we could pop that window off the track. So we go right back around the front, and it's like dark. And then I hear, right?
Oh my god!
Straight up shotgun, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? And they're like,
12 gauge.
Reno PD, get the fuck down, you know? And we're like,
somebody
oh
call
shit.
the cops.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh shit, right?
They
And
thought
then
you were just trying to break into a random house. Huh?
yeah, and then like,
Oh,
and then
God.
the entrance to our apartment is in like a courtyard of all the other apartments.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then all of a sudden everything's lighting up, right?
Oh my gosh.
And then a bunch more sheriffs and stuff are coming around because apparently they were bored that night, right? So they all got guns out. They're fucking screaming at us. I'm like, yo, dude, fucking chill out,
my
Rambo.
house.
You know, I'm just fucking. We locked ourselves out of our apartment. Shut the fuck up. You know, like you'll answer when I ask you. You know, and then we're like, fuck, right? Oh no, I left out one part too. So we had called a locksmith.
Oh, okay.
Because we couldn't get that window
Yeah.
open, so we called a locksmith. Locksmith showed up.
Oh, okay.
I fucked the story up. Yeah, the locksmith showed up and he was working on the door, and then we heard the fucking right,
And the
and
guy's
then we're
like,
like, oh
"Fuck you."
fuck, right? So then me and Adam are like, yo, like chill out, dude. He's like, shut up, and they make us get down, and this is Reno, and this is like October, so it's like it's cold as fuck
Yeah.
outside. So they get down, I get on the ground, dude. He puts his fucking boot on my head, right?
Oh,
the other
that's
guy
aggressive.
is putting his fucking boot on Adam's neck, right? And then he's like, then the locksmith got the door open, right? Like pretty much right when the cops pulled
Yeah.
the trigger on us, right? Or pulled the
trigger.
pulled
I
the
think
guns.
we'd be dead if
So-
that
Pulled the
happened.
fucking guns
So
on
all
us.
of this was happening, and the locksmith was like, la la la, working
Yeah,
on it.
because it's in the courtyard and then there's like a staircase. So him and Sandy were right by the door, working on the door. Me and
Yeah.
Adam were on the other side of the
Oh,
staircase.
okay.
Just
So
kind of
there's,
shooting.
there's a block.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
just kind of shooting the shit, right?
Yeah.
And then they pulled the guns on us, and we're like, "What the fuck?" And then we're on the ground eating fucking dirt, and then they got the door open by the time they were jumped on us, right?
Yeah.
So Sandy goes into the apartment. The locksmith like puts his shit down, and he's like starting to do his thing. Then he hears the commotion, right? And then they just shine their lights and shit, and they're like, "Who the fuck's over there? Identify
gosh.
yourself." And then they're like, "Do any of you have any weapons?" And then the locksmith's like, "I got a gun."
Oh my god.
Because he apparently locksmiths carry guns and stuff at night.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then he's like, and they're like, he's got a gun,
Oh
you know,
my
like.
God.
So
Oh,
then they all start going fucking crazy,
Reno
right?
911.
And they grab him, they drag his ass out near us. They're stepping all over him, and then they're like, "Who else is with you? Who the else is with you?" And we're like, "Oh, Adam's girlfriend Sandy." And then they're like, "Sandy, get the fuck out of the apartment," or whatever, right? And they're screaming at her, and she's like, she can't see. There's all these, because they have all the
The
lights on.
flashlights
Yeah.
in her
And then she's like,
fucking face.
puts her head out, and she's like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Get the fuck out here, Reno PD, get the fuck out!" And she's
Oh
just like,
my God.
she's like, I can't understand you, right? And they're like, "We're gonna fucking shoot you in the
Habla
face,"
español.
you know? And then they like run over and they grab her and they just throw her on the fucking ground, and yeah, and then they get us all handcuffed and all this shit. And then the guy finally lets me talk. I'm like, "Dude, grab my fucking wallet, go look on the fucking lease that's
It's
on the
me.
table, match it,
Not
dude,
you."
get off my fucking neck," you know. And then it turned into, it was like an hour and a half
Yeah.
before we got released, before they just let us go back in our
So
apartment.
stupid.
The locksmith didn't say, "I'm a locksmith, but I have a gun." Like, no, he never.
Well,
I have a
ju-
gun.
I mean, he eventually did, but yeah, first
Yeah.
he just answered the question when they yelled at
Yeah,
him.
I guess.
Yeah, so yeah, it
That's pretty
escalated
crazy.
super quick.
And at the end, they were like, "Oh, we're all dumbasses."
Yeah. That was day one of our apartment.
Welcome to Reno.
Everybody in the neighborhood was like, "Don't go there.
Yeah.
Don't talk to
They were all
them. They're in
watching
trouble."
us. The whole complex lit up by the time it was all done.
Damn.
We have time for a sponsor.
Yes, we do. This episode is brought to you by Dark and Dreary Clothing. Dark and Dreary is an edgy fashion and lifestyle brand that embraces great design and unsurpassed quality. Dark and Dreary has quickly gained a following amongst fans of occult, horror, punk rock, heavy metal, and all-around free thinkers, and retailers worldwide, without shoving a preachy, trendy, or political message down your throat. So buy the best, fuck the rest, darkanddrearyclothing.com.
Boom. Got nothing else to say. Fucking
Check it out.
Go buy some shirts. Actually, go to necroelectric.com. We have none of us are wearing it today, but we have some merch. You can rep our podcast in the fucking streets.
Basically, looks like the stickers.
And we'll take all that money and we'll buy more Monsters because Monster won't sponsor us. And then we'll buy some pizza and beer.
Yay. One day Monster's gonna sponsor us. It'd be great.
One day.
One day.
What else? Escalated fast.
Oh man.
You got nothing over there?
I wish I would have prepped for this one.
I know, me too.
There's like juicy stories, but I can't think off the like I'm under pressure.
Under
and I
pressure.
can't think.
Under pressure.
I'm like number one. I don't know.
I guess so. I went to Chico State, and I lived in this like fourplex, and I lived with 3 other girls, and then above us there was 4 guys. And one of the guys, his name was Joe, it was his birthday. And so they were having this huge party upstairs, and they had a couple strippers come to the party. And one
turned
of the
into an orgy story?
Her name was Kylie.
Oh.
So everyone was giving me a hard time because we had the same name.
Yeah.
So of course they're like, "Oh, you have to go out there in the middle and like, get a dance or whatever." And I'm like drank so much sake that night. It was ridiculous.
Sake. Yeah.
So I like go out there and then she's like, "Lay down." Lay down. I was like, "Okay." Well, I don't know. It was like a sake party type thing.
Sushi sake party, man. Come on. Get with the time.
Living your best life, huh?
Hey, I was in college. But anyway, so the stripper, who's also named Kylie, she was like, "Lay down." I'm like, "Okay, this is weird." She puts like a $1 bill on my face.
Uh-oh.
And then she's like dancing around for everyone. She's like, "Don't get up." I'm like, "Okay, this is so weird." And I can't really see what's going on. She's like out of my vision.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I see a vagina. Pick this $1 up off of my face.
Oh,
Snatched
it with her vagina.
Oh, dude, it had a little hand.
I like didn't even see it coming.
That's gross.
That was the last
Was it like
time
a
I've ever
muscle
seen
thing?
a
Or was
stripper.
it just like a moisture thing? I gotta know.
No, but she just like snatched it up. It was crazy.
Damn.
You know he did it.
Shout out to that shit.
Shout out to Kylie the stripper.
Yeah.
Well, goddamn, you've seen those, those people that pull stuff with their genitals, can lift heavy shit.
Intense.
Or they fire like the ping pong balls out of there.
Or the guy that gets punched like consistently in the dick, like, and he's like, yeah. What are you trying to prove? I don't know. But that's the first time I ever heard that, though. I didn't
That's
know
a wild
you could
one.
grab things, like pick up this
I almost
paper.
thought it was a dream.
You're like, I'm really drunk.
Did I just drink too much sake?
Man, that was funny.
My grandma had a.
Your grandma didn't.
No. Great segue,
Good
right?
segue.
You're like,
My grandma.
Dad,
It's not the same. One time, my grandma got a brand new car.
okay.
She wasn't pulling $1 bills off chicks' faces with her vagina.
That you know of.
That I know of. She gets wild.
Just
right?
kidding, grandma. Oh my gosh. She's like that little bitch.
Nah, she used to drive like an old piece of shit Ford Taurus.
Oh yeah, I had one of those.
It like caught fire and fucking
God damn.
died. And then she drove it to fucking to hell and back, dude. But she got this. She bought like a new Ford Ford something or other. It was like a more compact car. And she was all like in love with this fucking car. And we were in Reno, and we were gonna go back to California and visit everybody. And she was like, I drink tons of Pepsi at most points in my life. And I had this big ass Pepsi, and I was drinking it. And my cousin John was in the back seat, and we're driving, and it's like 11:30 at night. We used to do the overnight drive. And we're flying through the fucking Sierra Mountains, and she's bitching at me the whole time, right? She's like, "This is my new car, and I haven't had a new car since fucking 1980 or some shit, right?" She's like, "You better not spill one drop of fucking Pepsi in this fucking car, right?" And I'm like, yeah. Like, get off my ass, dude. I'm not gonna spill any. And then we're driving, and we go around this big bend right before you hit the fucking, what do they call that, inspection thing? I remember I told a story about Adam.
Yeah.
And same fucking area, right around this corner. And then the car had a defect, right? And like as we were driving, when we'd go up the hills, it would be like, right? And I was hearing this noise, and I'm like, what the fuck's that noise? You know, my grandma's like, don't worry about it. It's new. It's just working out the kinks.
It makes noises.
Right? And I'm like, man, this shit shouldn't sound like this or whatever. And we're driving, and it's like, it's like getting higher pitched, right? Man. And my cousin's sleeping in the back, and I'm like, how's this prick fucking sleeping like with the sound going, right? And we come around this bend, and it's like, and it's like, boom, and the axle had like a defect, and it like went like this and like bent, and then it caught on the frame of the car.
Oh shit!
What?
And just seized the back of the fucking car.
Oh, that's so fucking dangerous.
And then the car, so it was just like, whap, and this big fucking noise, and then we just start spinning. Because, we were like coming around, and just started doing this shit. Yeah. And I'm like, oh,
crazy.
fuck. And Pepsi's going everywhere, right? I'm like, oh, fuck, we're going to fucking die, right? and then we slam into they had those concrete dividers.
God. Yeah.
So we slam right in that fucking concrete divider and stop, and John's like, what the fuck, you know?
He's like sleeping in the back still.
And there's like Pepsi just dripping off the ceiling, right? And the car's fucking totaled.
Oh,
totally
God,
totaled,
yeah,
right? Totally totaled.
Is she mad at you for the soda?
The first thing she says to me, right? Not, are you okay? Not like anything.
I could see
she goes, Sean D., what did I tell you about the Pepsi? Look at the Pepsi everywhere, right?
Oh, Grandma, my arm's dislocated.
Yeah, I'm like, this fucking car is totaled. It's garbage.
Death trap, okay.
I'm like, and we had passed like semis and shit coming up, so I'm like, we need to get the fuck out of this car before something comes around the corner and just annihilates it, right?
Grandma's all bleeding and shit.
And my grandma's like, well, help me push the car. I'm like, the car's stuck in the fucking concrete. Like, we're not pushing this shit. Get your old ass across the fucking road, you know? And then, it was just the whole night was just fucking bitching at me about the Pepsi or whatever.
Oh my god.
So,
I think she was in shock, and all she could focus on was like that thing that she was just talking about, you know?
Yeah.
Damn. Because damn, axle breaking. God damn.
I've been in, like I've said it before, 14 car accidents as a passenger.
That's
2 head-ons, that axle, and then...
How many of them had Pepsi, though?
A lot of them. A lot of them.
Stay away from Pepsi when you're driving, apparently.
It's bad.
Yeah, even one with Adam, one time I was at work. We worked at the same place when we were like 18. And I drove my car to work, and Adam had a dentist appointment. But me and Adam obviously used to get in a lot of trouble growing up, right? So we had moved out to California, like the whole band, and the band like split up into 2 different houses, one in Livermore, one in Fremont. And me and Adam and Nick were in Fremont, and we were all working at the same place. And we all go to work, and then I come home, and Kathy is his mom. Yeah, shout out to Kathy. She's like a second mom to me, right? And she's sitting at the table like this when I walk in, right? And then I'm like,
she got something to say.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, and I was doing good at that point, right? I was going to work. I was paying my part. You know, we were just trying to like play shows. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on, right? And she's like, Sean, why don't you have a seat? And I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm trying to think. I'm like, okay, like
what did I do recently?
Because like we smoked a lot of weed when we were like teenagers and stuff. So I'm like, and at this point, I was still smoking weed and stuff, and I was just like, is she mad at me about like smoking weed with everybody? I'm like, but everybody was doing it. You know, I'm trying to think like, what is going on? Like, you know? And then I'm like, and I'm laughing. I'm like, am I, you know, is this like an interrogation? Like, am I gonna get waterboarded? What's going on? You know? And then I'm laughing. I'm cracking jokes. She's like, it's not time to crack jokes, Sean. Just sit down, you know? And I'm like, all right. So I sit there and she goes, is there something you want to tell me? And I'm like, not really. I had Carl's Jr. for lunch, you know. I was like 2 minutes late coming back, but, you know, fucking, it's all good as far as I know, right? You know? And she's like, Sean, I'm going to give you one more chance to tell me what happened today. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? It was just a normal day.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. She's like, I'm very disappointed. She's like, you guys were in a hit and run today. And I'm like, who was in a hit and run? And she's like, you and Adam were in a hit and run today. Because at the time I had bleached dreadlocks. Bleached and black dreadlocks, right?
Yeah, he did.
And she's like, I was like, I wasn't with Adam today. Adam went to work for like half a day and then went to a dentist appointment. And she's like, do not lie to me. All the stuff I do for you guys, do not lie to me. I'm like, I'm not fucking lying.
Yeah.
I went to work. I was at work all day except for lunch, you know? And then she's like, well, how do you explain an eyewitness saw Adam in his Bronco with a guy with blonde hair and they hit a car and then took off?
Nick?
No, it wasn't Nick. There was nobody with Adam from what Adam says, right?
It was a girl.
No, there's no twist, right?
There was someone.
But the eyewitness said that he had hit her, and then Adam told the chick to pull over, and then Adam was just like, well, fuck it. I got to go to a dentist appointment, and bailed out, right? So then I'm sitting there, and she's like, I'm so disappointed you're lying about this, right? And I'm just like, fuck, I didn't do anything. And then Adam finally gets his ass home, right?
So you made it home before Adam.
Yeah. And then he comes in, and then she's just like, sit down, and she starts bitching him out or whatever. And then he's like, dude, Sean wasn't with me. Nobody was with me. It just happened. It's my bad or whatever, you know? But even to this day, I still think she thinks
you did it.
Yeah, that I was with him, but I wasn't.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I wasn't.
He wasn't.
But yeah, that escalated.
I believe you.
Some other girl was with Adam. A girl guy. I don't know.
But it was random. They were like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you heard it, you're like, oh, Adam and some blonde dude. It's like, yeah. Who's the one blonde dude he hangs out with all the time?
This weirdo, dreadlocked, blonde motherfucker.
I wonder if
right
it was
here.
a person in the neighborhood that like knew y'all.
No, some random ass lady in Fremont, California.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, forget it.
We got time for a little sexy sponsorship.
Mod Ministry. Mod Ministry merch creates for the edgy woman, the kind of woman who works hard but plays much harder, who embraces femininity but tests societal limits. We are not for the faint of heart. We are bold. We are beautiful. Check out the Mod Ministry Etsy page for handmade harness lingerie. 5-star rated seller since 2014. Boom.
Yeah.
All right. We're already at the end of our show, guys.
Strap it on. All right, we got life in the comment section.
Yep.
Yeah, I have 2 sheets. I didn't know which one. So you
Should
can
be the
start
biggest
it off.
worm one.
Okay, the bottom one.
There we go. Big worm.
From Instagram, the biggest worm. _biggest_worm. Oh yeah, found my best friend hanging from a tree. It was a 40-foot tree.
You sound so jovial, and that was not
And
right.
I was
Let's try it
like,
again.
yeah, as soon as I got to 40 foot, I was like, wait a minute, let me back up.
Let's try it again.
This sounds morbid. Let me back up. Let me back the fuck up.
Give it a more somber
That got
voice.
dark
Yeah.
real fast.
Oh yeah, I found my best. I found my best friend hanging from a tree. It was a 40-foot tree, and he had a 20-foot rope, so it fucking ripped his spine. Kinda 3/4 out of his body. Oh. Pretty fucked up shit, let me tell ya. Tell me more, biggest worm. You can't just leave us a comment like that and just be like, yep, that was it.
The comments today are from, we posted a clip of when Brianna Fellatio, whatever.
Feliciano.
Brianna Fellatio.
On a ratio.
Brianna Feliciano.
When she told the story about possibly finding a dead body,
Oh, okay.
I invited people to tell me their stories.
Oh, and this is what happened.
Yeah, and they came out of
No
the
wonder.
woodworks.
Damn,
Oh,
the
dear.
biggest worm.
So
We
this
love
dude-
hearing your guys' stories.
So to sum it up, this dude found his buddy hanging dead with his spine halfway out his body because he had a long fall.
I can't imagine.
Yeah,
I don't know he was
that's
dead.
a bad day.
I thought he said he just found him like that. And it was halfway out and then like, I don't know, somehow he was saved.
But you think he's not dead?
I mean, some people survive crazy freak accidents.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
about
because
that.
he's like, let me tell you. And I'm like, well, tell me. Because it's not clear
All
to
right,
me.
tell us, is he alive or dead, or she?
And
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
know.
guaranteed they're fucking dead.
Okay,
Snap,
we got
crackle,
another
pop.
one too from Instagram also, from V Mills 136. I've seen tons. In my high school career, I was an assistant at a funeral home and later assisted with embalmings. Ooh. None of which really bothered me until we had a baby who passed from SIDS. Now that will tear you up inside. That is
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's deep.
That's the
SIDS
saddest.
is sudden infant death syndrome, if anyone doesn't know.
Yeah.
And babies who are under, I think it's a year old, maybe 9 months old, are like most prone to it.
Yeah.
It's real. And
It's
it
super real.
happens, and it's very, very sad.
And as like a new parent, it's your biggest fear for
Oh.
the first year.
Yeah.
And tragically, one of my best friends, my guitar player Greg Shepard, his little brother died of SIDS.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I know
very
firsthand.
sad,
it is,
guys.
it's super tragic.
Anyone who's lost anyone.
I'm sorry, V Mills.
Yeah.
We're
Kids
here
are the
for
worst.
ya.
Like I'll take like old people and midlife people dying. You know, whatever. You guys had
Whatever.
it. But kids.
No,
kids
he
are
means it's
fucked
still
up.
sad, but
Yeah, not whatever.
I will not shed any tears for somebody like 30 and over, right? But
watch me die. Like,
Yeah, what if I die tomorrow?
let's retract
It's like
that
you're
statement.
over 30 anyway.
No, she had it coming. Like, what?
Yeah.
but little kid stuff always
Close to
pulls the
death.
heartstrings on me, dude.
Oh, God dang it.
All right, well, that's the end of our show. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We got any shout outs?
Shout outs to V Mills. Thank you for sharing. I know that's probably deep. And the biggest one, too. I'm sorry I misread your statement at first.
Just keep happy
I'm
with
used
it.
I'm used to having all these little crazy funny stuff, and then that was pretty deep. You still gotta tell me what happened.
Yeah, go on our Instagram. You can interact with these.
Yes.
Normally everybody gives us positive stuff, so I wanted to jump in this week and pull some negative
Yep.
stuff and mix it up.
Awesome. Yeah.
But I want to give shouts out to everybody that's been interacting with us. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
The
Love
last
it.
month
Thank
or
you,
so,
guys.
we've seen jumps. Our Instagram's almost to 800 followers. You know, we're not. A lot of that Instagram shit's like bullshit. People like pay for people to like boost their shit up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
we don't do any of that shit. You know, we're fucking every fucking followers are the real deal.
Yeah.
And we try to interact and embrace every one of them. And like I said, the last month or so has been really fun, like talking, hearing all your stories. You know, we love obviously reading them, and we read them on here, so keep it up.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
And then shout out to my boy Stevie Weeby as always.
Yeah.
And how about a shout out to my boy Bane, because I love him.
Oh,
little
baby boy.
What about you?
Shout out to Craig.
Craig F.
Wearing
Rose.
his Paulo's Grove shirt. Thanks for the awesome shirt.
Available now on Amazon Prime and YouTube.
Amazon Prime. God, that's the
Great
best thing
achievement.
ever.
Great achievement.
I know Craig is pitching TV shows, so good luck to you,
man.
dude. All right, and until next time, we'll see you. Boom.